special interest group webinar, and this event is going to be recorded. If you have any questions or any concern, you can please share on the chat. You can also let us know where you are joining from by just putting joining from wherever you are joining from around the world. This is our third webinar as the Institute of Directors Special Interest Group for Africa. And today we'll be talking about evolution and development of fintech business in Africa. We have our experts, wonderful experts, who are going to be sharing their thoughts with us about fintech in Africa, people that have done it before and people that are on ground in Africa, and they are seeing what is happening in the continent. Good morning, everyone. Many more people are joining us. Let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes to admit people that are waiting. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is IoD Special Interest Group Africa webinar for this month of April, and we are discussing the evolution and development of fintech business in Africa. My name is Joe Popola, and I'm the chairman or the chair of the SIG for Africa. I have supported by our senior manager from Backshell, who is just behind the scene, making everything is working well. Juliet, thank you so much. Also, we have members of the committee who are also joining this webinar. We are going to start shortly, and I want to run through the agenda. We have the first speaker is going to take about 15 minutes. Thereafter, if you have any questions, you can just put it in the chat box. We are going to take few questions after the first speaker, and then the second speaker will come up also to say 1 or 2 things. And then we have a question time, which is going to last for about 20 minutes. And if we couldn't do justice to all the questions, we can do a follow-up after the event. Yeah, we can start. Permit me to introduce the first speaker to us. His name is Eugene, who is also the member of the Institute of Directors. He is the CEO of SSCG Consulting, the CEO of African Business Chamber, AFBC. He is also the CEO of NPI, Life Cycle Management Consultants for Caterpillar. Is the director of One Africa Network. He's also sit on the board of many companies. He has a very robust profile and bio. Please join me to welcome Eugene, who is going to lead this informative session. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you, Joe. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Nice to see everyone, and thank you for the introduction. Just a bit about me before I deep dive into the topic today. Just to clarify, I'm not the CEO for the Caterpillar. I'm an advisor and consultant on the aftermarket life cycle management. But in addition, originally I'm from Rwanda, but I've been residing in the UK for the last 22 years, but travel to Africa 3-4 times a year. I've worked around 20 countries in Africa, managing various portfolios from oil and gas to manufacturing, automotive, and financial services project. Currently, I'm also supporting certain projects in the UK on technology and innovation. One of them is on Greater Manchester Combined Authority Digital Task Force, where we are looking at the UK innovation and digital strategy for the UK as part of the global growth. I also support the CPCA, which is a Cambridge and Peterborough Combined Authority with their economic recovery. And I'm also on a panel review for Innovate UK, looking at some of their funding to support inclusive innovation and also expansion in the African market to increase their footprint. So that's just a bit about me. So for today, I just want to give an overview in terms of in line with the topic, in terms of the African financial fintech and development in Africa. And this is just an overview in terms of where the fintech industry stands, and the market share is developing very fast. Of course, some of the highlights, we all acknowledge and have seen so many developments in the last few years in terms of how the financial ecosystem in Africa is growing rapidly, evolving, driven by consumer, faster adoption from users. Africa, I think, has the fastest growing mobile user adoption. According to the World Bank, IMF, and Brookings data, 50% of world registered mobile accounts reside in Africa, and 72% of the global mobile money transfer is in Africa. And also, this is also supporting 10% of the GDP transaction through mobile money. Majority of it is through payments and the diaspora remittance. And some of the work have been done by FCDO in their report 2021 indicate that the top 716 fintech companies that operate in Africa are concentrated in the big four powerhouse. So that's Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and Egypt. And this is also driving the investment in the same market. So we're seeing a lot of investment flow in the Kenyan tech market. South Africa, Nigeria being the biggest one, of course, is also has the highest population and is the biggest economy in Africa. Depending how you look at it, Nigeria and the South Africa compete, but Nigeria, of course, with the bigger population. And the payment remittance segment dominates the fintech market, considering the number of or the high representation of unbanked or underserved users across Africa who are leveraging the mobile payment to access and conduct the transaction. And Africa, of course, continues to see investment and scale up of in infrastructure and payment, and the competition is growing. I think recently Google announced they are installing their undersea fiber in addition to other companies that are coming to the market. We've seen Google, Facebook Africa, Meta, and a few other global players who are also penetrating in the market to also dominate and also capture some of the emerging opportunities. So this is just the extract of the picture on the side is from the FCDO report, showing some of the number of dominating fintech companies across the region. Of course, as I mentioned, you can see the data. Nigeria is the biggest one, followed by South Africa and East Africa, Kenya as the gateway, and Egypt on the top. So that's just an overview in terms of how the current fintech industry stands at the moment and the share of the market. And what's driving this development?
Sorry, we can't see your slide. I think you want to share the slide.
Oh, sorry, you didn't see it?
No.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So, yeah, sorry, yeah. I thought you could see it. So this is an overview I just went through in terms of numbers, how the industry stands, and how the market share is currently positioned in terms of percentage, in terms of user mobile registration, application of mobile transfer within the market, and some of the leading figures in terms of 5 out of 7 tech unicorn in Africa come from the fintech industry from the last 1 year. Big 4 market are the largest recipients of African fintech and funding from the US, but we're also seeing new incoming and appetite from investors from like Middle East, Asia, Japan, and China, also investing in some of the fintech companies. Payment and the remittance segment dominate the fintech investment market. And in terms of the Africa, we are seeing more than half of the population, as predicted by IMF and World Bank, to grow to 2015. So this will be a huge opportunity for any global company that want to increase their user coverage and market share, which is now driving post-COVID. Every global company is looking to see how they can operate and capture the opportunities in Africa. So in terms of, this is an overview and what's driving this growth. There's some key trends that I've managed to capture. Of course, the list is not exhaustive. There's a lot, but some of it is driven by the connectivity. We've seen huge development, as you can see in this map here, which is the latest one for 2020. Is projecting how the Africa connectivity will be in the 2023, showing all the undersea fiber connectivities from Middle East, India, Europe, and also the US connectivity, which is a great opportunity. Hopefully will also help to reduce the cost of data and a few other things. Mobile penetration and adoption in Africa is growing very fast, driven by smartphone coming from Middle East and the Asian market. So you see a lot of smartphone which can help users to apply some of the application. Flexible and affordable quick financial solution for unbanked and the underbanked population is a priority to major telecoms and the banking industry. Same like in the UK, of course, we've seen some of the banking sector like Standard Bank and a few other ones in Africa are reducing their high street representation. Standard Bank Kenya recently announced they are closing around 80 branches in the region. So this is a growing trend, not just in Europe, even in Africa, as most of the financial service companies move towards more digital solution. Other key trends, of course, digital economy and the remote operation accelerated by COVID-19, where all of us were locked in the house. So a lot of people onboarded on mobile application. And we are seeing a growing middle class and tech savvy users, considering around 60% of the African population are below 30. So these are more ambitious, curious individuals who want to be ahead in terms of tech application. We're also seeing as I mentioned before, diversification of global funding sources, incremental investment from Middle East and Asia than before. And lastly, in the last few months also, we've seen an accelerated investment from US-based VC funds who are looking to tap into some of the emerging opportunities. Advancement of digital system and infrastructure. Quite a lot of countries in Africa are developing and they upgrading their infrastructure. Good example, I come from Rwanda. I know Rwanda was one of the countries that was able to install fiber network across the country for around 15 years ago. Beyond that, they're building a satellite. It's called Karisimbi project to support the networks and a few connectivities in the region. That's one example, but there's a lot of examples around the continent. A partnership, collaboration, and MA is growing. You're seeing lots of international companies collaborating with local fintech companies, which is helping to companies to tap into global resources and also and to support local users. Challenger banks launching innovative financial solutions. So we're seeing a lot of emerging e-banks that are challenging traditional incumbents with zero or low cost to accelerate adoption. And the emerging, of course, we are seeing also emerging big four tech hubs, which of course reflect where the investment is going into. So that's the Joburg, Lagos, Nairobi, and Cape Town as the leading. But beyond that, we also seeing a lot of investment. Recently, UK agreed and confirmed the investment into Kigali Financial Center, which is also going to be one of the, it's a 1.5 billion project. In addition to that, they also committed 2.5 billion to support Kenya Financial Center, running in parallel with Konza City. So those are some of the trends. Nigeria, of course, Lagos is growing, Eco Island, Eco Atlantic, and some of the opportunities and the companies positioning themselves like Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of them now positioning in the region to tap into the market opportunity. Of course, competition also is growing between the telecom giant, Mnet, Safaricom, Vodafone, and all those global tech companies also are looking to come into the region. In addition to some international investors also were coming in. So some of them I mentioned, Google, MasterCard, all of them, you can see now they're increasing their representation in the region to make sure they are involved, and they also build their portfolio, which is driving the sector. And in a way also is helping to increase financial inclusion, low access, and it's benefiting to the low income individuals because of the increased diversification in terms of service in the region. So these are some of the key trends driving and transforming the market. Of course, the list is not exhaustive. There's more other things we could look at that are also driving the development, like within the technology industry, like e-health, and a few e-insurance, and a few other things that agri-tech, that we also have auto tech, and a few other things that more smart mobility, smart e-homes, and all those. These are all connected to financial payment, and the EHR, where now we're seeing a lot of employers being paid through tech platforms and all those, bypassing the traditional banking, because quite a lot of individuals at the moment don't have bank accounts. So, but they can be able to receive payment, conduct transaction through financial platforms. And how this, of course, FinTech is on investors' favorite tech, and as I mentioned before, tech startups across the continent raised around 5 billion in the last 1 year, double the previous investment, and 9 times raised in the last 5 years. But we do acknowledge, of course, COVID-19 decelerated investment in the first, in around 2020 to 21. However, once economies managed to adjust, learn how to live with COVID, we've seen a huge drive in terms of investment into the region to try and support the technology advancement and the FinTech sector. So in terms of some of the top fast growing FinTech companies and the recent deals, I'm sure you've had some of the recent announcements, but we do acknowledge that M-Pesa is Africa's most successful mobile money service, launched in 2007 by Vodafone and Safaricom, which also was supported by the UK aid, and is a very success story which has opened up opportunities in terms of financial inclusion and the mobile banking. But beyond that, we've seen the emerging and the starting up of various successful fintech companies, some of them OPay, which recently last year raised around 400 million from Asian investors. We've seen Paystack acquired by Stripe last year also, over 200 million. Other successful fintech, we have Flutterwave, we have InterSwitch, Andela, Chipcash, Bayport, Wave from Senegal, Free from Egypt, Time Bank, and Jumo, and MTN, Haran, MS Africa. But if you can see, the majority of them are either Nigerian dominated. So that shows how the Nigerian fintech industry is dominating the African market. Of course, that reflects also in terms of the population. 200 million and above is a huge market to serve, in addition to the strength of the economy. So Nigerian market itself, and within Nigeria, they're able to serve other region neighbors like Cameroon and Togo and all other in the region. So evolving, the market, of course, is evolving, and there's many opportunity will continue to arise in the coming years. To some of it will emerge from various aspects, which include affordable and quick payment. So users will continue to seek for solutions that are easy to adopt and affordable. Digital banking, currency payment, remittance are the biggest opportunity in the fintech. If you look at how the cryptocurrency application and usage in Africa is growing, driven by Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and a couple of countries, and which is why we're seeing the CBN introducing e-Naira, because they felt they are losing the opportunity. So we also have other countries, Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, they are all looking into digital, introducing their own digital currency. And this will be driving the payment and the digital banking in the coming years to come. Open banking is a new operation structure that is coming up. UK, we are applying it. In Africa also is rising, where you have banks are connected and can be also have access to third-party access. So you can open a bank account from Equity Bank, and they can easily interlink with other bank you have. This is one of the strategy banking are using to fight financial corruption, illicit trading, and all those, to be able to identify companies or individuals who are transferring funds in different banks without being noticed. So it's a growing area where the banks can easily search within their system to see what else you have within their banking. Cyber security, of course, all of us, we are concerned about increasing cyber security and attack in many ways, and frauds, and we've seen so many cases. Sorry to say, but Nigeria has been on the hot spot, especially financial corruption and the other things, and the frauds, especially affecting US. And so we need to be aware about it, and we need to know how to protect ourselves. We've seen some uncomfortable transaction being carried out, people enriching themselves in an illegal way. So cybersecurity will continue to be an issue driven by AI, machine learning, and automation, while companies are looking ways to improve control and management. Insurance technology and the legislative technology are growing, especially as we move towards the data. We've seen a lot of insurance companies adopting various tech solutions to manage their insurance. Regulation, of course, is compliance driven by a blockchain in terms of managing contracts and all those. There's also growing focus on platform-based approach and solution because of the ease of use, application, and cost. And it's an area that is growing than the traditional model. Alternative way of credit scoring through the use of AI, machine learning, and technology. It's growing very fast. And I'm sure most of you know, you also know the new PAP, Africa Payment Gateway System, that has been introduced in the last 2 months to support use of local currency in terms of transaction. So this system will move away from converting any transaction to US dollars and then back, which has been costing Africa a lot of money. So this is going to be supporting also the financial sector. Beyond that, also we see takeover of startup by incumbent banks or telecom companies, which we've seen in the last.
Eugene, thank you so much. I think you need to be rounding off now.
Yes, I'm rounding up, just 1 minute. So the last 2 points, of course, is diversification into new and related value services to enable scale up, and greater, more emphasis on digital inclusion and innovation. So of course, all these good things, we have to acknowledge there's challenges exist in terms of digital divide, low digital literacy and internet penetration, many different legislative jurisdiction and the culture, talent challenges, of course, software developers, engineer, interest rates escalate in developing market, we see reduced available of capital. UK is already doing that. The stress on weak infrastructure and sustainable power. Nigeria is a good example. Recent few days, we've seen where there are a lot of companies are struggling to access power to be able to conduct any activities. Finally, of course, financial inclusion and banking services accessibility to low-income families or remote or off-grid or remote area will remain a big challenge in certain countries. So I hope that gives you an overview in terms of where the fintech market and industries in Africa. And I welcome any question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eugene. You have spoken extensively on the outlook of fintech in Africa. You have talked a lot about the maturing of the fintech market in Africa and various investments that has been plowed to African fintech markets. You have moved from the broad to the specific, the opening of the tech giants offices across the continent of Africa, Twitter in Ghana, Google in Nigeria, Microsoft opening an office about 2 weeks ago, also in Africa. And this, I think, is encouraging for British businesses here, because when we look at the financial hub of the world, I think we have it here in Britain, and also the technology. And I think it's an opportunity for us to leverage on what is happening in Africa now, to see how we get more British businesses from the UK to the continent of Africa. One thing that is a bit disturbing for me is the fact that the 4 big players in Africa seems to be preventing others from getting their fair share of the market. I might be wrong, but what do you think can be done to ensure that these investments in fintech spread across the 54 countries, even if not at the same rate, but at least something significant to every part of the continent?
It's a good question, but some of it is driven by the maturity of the banking industry. So if you look at the banking industry in Africa, is dominated by either Nigerian banks, South African banks, and the Kenyan banks. The second thing, of course, is if you look at the map I showed you of the fiber network and the connectivity, is also connected to the same kind of gateways. But of course, as the big 4 economies mature, they also start supporting other regional players. Like in Kenya, of course, we've seen like M-Pesa was successful in Kenya, but was later introduced in other countries like Tanzania, Uganda, and all those. So it's supporting that way. And also MTN, Vodacom, the more these big 4 markets mature, they are opening up into, now you're seeing MTN, Ghana, MTN, Togo, MTN, offering the same solution. So slowly, you will see the expansion. Senegal is coming up also. The other thing that is driving some of this, if you look at most of those countries, are English-speaking countries. So most of the investment is coming from the US, and also they are English speaking, which means the culture and the ease of doing business it's kind of connected to the UK, US, and all those. It's, as you know, English is the business language. So this is helping to facilitate that. And a good example, so I think UK is doing something on one of the projects we are working on with the FCD and the DIT. They've opened up what we call Nigeria Kenya Tech Hub. There's UK Kenya Tech Hub, there's UK Nigeria Tech Hub, there's UK South African Tech Hub. But beyond that, those tech hubs are supporting FinTech to expand beyond territories. So it's to help them identify opportunities and support to grow beyond those traditional markets into more regional.
Thank you very much. Before we go to the second speaker, there is a pertinent question I want you to answer, and it's been asked by James Salvage. He said, what is the impact of the Chinese large internet conglomerates in Africa?
Impact of the Chinese conglomerate in Africa, in a positive way, has brought more competition.
Right.
So they've came in like now, start acquiring some of the local FinTech, and that has raised the stake for the Western, also the tech companies, investors to start now appreciating some of the opportunities in Africa. So it's creating competition. Second, if you look at some of those Chinese tech companies are the one involved in infrastructure development. So they are helping to enhance regional infrastructure. Third, of course, the more diversified services available in region, it's helping to reduce the cost of data and access to network and the use financial solution. So in a way, I look at it in a positive way. You know, competition is healthy. It creates more wider market, and this has opened up in Africa, and even raised the curiosity for European companies that were not traditionally looking at Africa.
Thank you very much. And permit me to introduce our second speaker, Edoka Idoko, a business strategist and a tenacious entrepreneur. He launched an e-commerce venture in 2016 from a malfunctioning tap and extended into the finance industry with the launch of the Oju Premier prepaid card, which has since grown into a full licensed digital bank. Edoka sits on the board of several companies, including Solid, Alizi Microfinance Bank, PAF Merchants Limited, and Kopita Construction Limited, to mention a few. Please join me to welcome Edoka Idoko. You are muted, I think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Thank you, Joel. That was quick and straight to the point. And thank you, Mr. Eugene. That was really, really deep. And I really wondered how you were able to get so much information within such a short time. As Joel has mentioned, my name is Edoka Idoko, and I am the founder and chief executive at Oju Prime. Just to give a little bit insight into my person, right? We started Oju Prime as an e-commerce company from a faulty Samsung tab in 2016, right? And I literally had zero knowledge about the tech industry, right? But I knew we just wanted to build something. And 2 years later, we expanded into the fintech space with the launch of a prepaid card. And we got into fintech for just one simple reason. 1 year in business, we noticed 96% of payments were made via bank transfers as against usage of debit card. So we reached out to our users to inquire why why they choose not to use their debit cards and preferred a direct transfer into the bank account. And the response was pretty straightforward. Hey, sorry, we don't want to expose our debit cards, the fear of cyber attacks, the fear of exposing your card details and all that. But rather than looking at that from the angle of complaints and challenge in business, we rather saw it as an opportunity, as the customer pointing us to a direction that we needed to provide a solution on, right? And this led us to innovate a prepaid card. This was I think 2018. Yeah, this was 2018. We bettered this prepaid card and we named it Oju Prime prepaid card. We really had no idea we're stepping into the fintech space. Our big dream then was just to get 100 cards into the market and support our customers that shop regularly from our platform. But over the course of time, we realized we had stepped into a new industry, and between 2018 and 2020, we grew to 40,000 users of this prepaid card, and that made a significant move for us into the fintech space. And within the space of these 2 years, we took out time to understand the market, understand our customer, understand what they want. We tried defining our value proposition, and the COVID lockdown came to us. We took advantage of that, acquired an existing microfinance bank that had been operational for 8 years, which was typically bigger than us, right? And the acquisition went smooth, and that significantly marked our transition from just a prepaid card focused fintech into a digital bank. So pretty much between 2020 and 2021, we spent a lot of time working at the background, and within the next 1-2 weeks, we should be going full launch into the market. I had to share the story because for us, it marks, it reflects that typical African story. It reflects the typical struggle the average African startup goes through, right? Where you have limited access to funding, where you have limited access to resources, where you have limited access to basic resources in its whole picture, right? So for us, our story is in tune with the focus of this session, where we're looking at the evolution of fintech business in Africa. So I'm going to share my screen right now. And good, perfect. So basically, our story is in tune with the focus for this afternoon, the evolution and development of fintech business in Africa. And by the way, that's a home screen of our mobile app that should hit the market this week. It's already on the Google Play Store, right? And I looked at how big this topic is, and it's pretty much a challenge touching the different areas of this subject matter within the limited time allotted to us. So I rather chose to focus on 2 key areas, right? What really are the factors that drives growth in the African fintech space? Within the last few years, we've seen a drastic rise in the fintech space. We've seen investors step into the space. We've seen innovations. We've seen the world focus on Africa, particularly the fintech space, right? We'll be looking at what are the factors that are driving growth. What are the triggers of growth in this space? We would also look at, okay, how fintech will shape the future of Africa. So I'll start by telling you this. Africa is the fintech market of the future. The world knows it, Africa knows it. And over the last decades, investment in the African fintech industry has doubled year over year. We've seen this with reports of fintechs raising funds, right? And this making it the fastest growing industry behind Latin America, the fastest growing region behind Latin America. In the year 2020, approximately 744 million was invested into fintech in Africa. Now, this accounted for 31% of the total inflows into the continent. Now, look at 2021. The interest in African fintech startups exploded, with fintech startups focused on the continent raising over $3.03 billion. Now, the disclosed funding into the African tech space in 2021 was estimated to be around 5 point something to $6 billion. Now, fintech industry took literally 60% of that value in disclosed funding. If the industry continues in this trajectory, it is projected that Africa's fintech industry will be the biggest globally in the coming years. Now, having said that, I want to look at what are the 5 factors that drives growth in the space. We've seen a crazy rise in the number of fintech startups on the continent. We've seen the crazy rise also in the volume of funding that's coming into Africa from the UK, from the US, from China. So Africa is that piece of cake that everybody wants to get a part of. Everybody wants to get a part of it, no matter how small it is. We've seen the amazing jobs done by great guys, the floater wave, the paystack, you get the cheaper cash and all that, right? But we need to look at it from the root. There are factors that are responsible that drives growth in this space. Work with me on these. There are 5 factors I had identified in this space. Number 1, population. Africa has the world's fastest growing population, and the UN anticipates that at least half of the global population growth between now and 2050 would come from these continents. That is a massive, that's a factor to take into cognizance. And if you run through the 5 factors I have highlighted on the screen here, we have from population to mobile penetration to internet access, age demography, and funding. Now, if you look at age demography, Africa has the 2nd highest millennial cohorts globally, which controls literally 65% of purchasing power through household purchases, valued at over $800 billion, right? That's massive. And we live in an age and time that most of the great startups we see around are being powered by millennials. Millennials are typically spearheading new innovations, new technology across the different phase globally. And if millennials are championing this new phase the world is experiencing, and data is telling us that, hey, Africa has the highest millennials globally, and this percentage accounts 65% of purchasing power, and you align that with the population explosion in Africa, and you look at mobile penetration that puts 80% of African population have a mobile device. We look at the growth in the internet access also, you would understand why funding is moving aggressively into the continent. Right, you would understand why there's a sudden leap from $744 million in 2020 to a sudden over $3 billion in 2021. The funding into the continent this year, it's already on course to double the record of 2021. That is a strong pointer that Africa is the future of fintech market in the world. Now, we've looked at the 5 factors that drives growth in this space. Now let's look at what about the future. We've identified, okay, growth is coming basically because of population, because of mobile penetration, internet, age demography, and funding. Let's look into the future. How fintech would shape the future in Africa, right? There are a lot of factors we can highlight here, but for the sake of time, I'm trying to narrow down my focus to just 3 key areas, right? Fintech will shape the future of Africa via increased competition, right? The rise of fintech, the rise of African fintech is gradually shifting the model amongst traditional banking, where traditional banks are either launching a fully digital subsidiary or responding to competition, redefining their key selling proposition. And if you look at the entire value proposition of a typical traditional bank in the continent, right, it's a long list, right? And what fintechs are doing in Africa right now, it's rather than building a brand that focuses on the endless lists that existing traditional banks provide. The fintechs in the continent pick one or two of those products and specialize on those products. So you see great guys like Float, who just announced a $17 million raise focusing on providing working capital to businesses. You see brands like Oju Prime, which I'm building, focusing on buy now, pay later and savings. You see the guys like Piggyverse doing great work in the country here in Nigeria. And yes, we've seen our competitor Kuda doing a great work also in that space. So fintechs right now are putting existing traditional banks under a lot of pressure. And this pressure is creating that room for more competition. It's forcing traditional banks to either bet subsidiary or do something because there's a threat of competition knocking on their door already. Now, we've also seen what fintechs have done from the angle of globalization. African fintech startups have significantly played a role in connecting the continent to developed economy via building payment solutions that promote trade and enhance transactions. Mr. Eugene made mention of PAPS and the amazing work they're doing. We've seen what Flutterwave is doing. We've seen what Paystack is doing. And we've seen how these guys are busy connecting Africa to the world. Prior to now, it's either you're talking about a PayPal or you're talking about some US or UK-based payment services. But right now, African fintechs have taken over the narrative, they've taken over the market, they've risen to the challenge, and suddenly we find ourselves in a space where you see brands playing in this space and doing amazing and tremendous work. And a very important point also is unlock data. Now, this is very key because as African fintechs build solutions to address economic problems faced by the continent, we will begin to see an increased use of data in addressing this problem. Let me explain that. At the phase where Africa is right now, we build solutions on unrefined data. We're building solutions on raw data. We're building solutions on mobile penetration. We're building solutions on population growth. We're building solutions on internet availability. That is a surface level, that's the surface level. But in the future, we would see African brands, we will see African fintech companies building solutions on deep data. So you're not building on just population alone, you're building on the activities of the population. You're not building on just mobile penetration alone, you're building on the activities of this mobile penetration.
You have 2 minutes to round off.
Yeah, I'm on the last slide.
You have a lot to tell us.
Yeah, I'm on the last slide. It's fine. That's
Thank you.
So we would see a transition in African fintech, right? We're at that space where the Flutterwave, the Paystack, the Oju Prime, the Kuda, we're all building on raw data. But I put it to you, in the next 5 to 10 years, we would witness a transition where fintechs in Africa will transit from building on raw data into building on deep data. And this is why I put it to you that the future of fintech in the world is Africa. And I think this is my last slide. Thank you. And again, the future belongs to Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this informative pitch section. Fantastic. I agree with you that the future of the world, the Africa is the fintech market of the future. And I think you could see that despite the fact that currently there are no structured open data available to businesses across Africa, unlike UK, where we have governments giving us access to open data. Also in America, there is access to open data. That is not available in Africa. Even the government data, governments want to sell to you at an expensive price. I agree with you that by the time we have access to open data like we have in the UK, it's going to be phenomenal in fintech and other aspects of business across the continent of Africa. I want to quickly go to the questions that have been posted on the chat. And the first one is from Alastair Cook. He said, massive level of investments are revenue growing opportunity, and is this level of activities sustainable? I think he's trying to say there is massive level of investment in Africa. He's asking whether the revenue growing proportionality, and is this level of activity sustainable? He's asking whether the level of revenue proportionality is sustainable in Africa.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. You're dealing with a continent, right, that is growing faster than any other continent aside Latin America. And between now and 2050, 50% of global population growth would come from Africa. So I think the investors putting their foot forward and putting funds behind African startups have looked beyond 2022 and have put this data into proportion to see that within the next 1-2 decades, there's going to be an explosion, and you would see a massive valuation growth in Africa. We understand that the part of population growth, right, it's very visible, obvious, but the another part that has to do with it, population growth basically impact customer base for whatever business an investor is investing into. You have the customer base, right? Then purchasing power, it's another integral part that determines profitability of a business. And purchasing power would definitely grow in tune with how fast the economy grows. So I feel it's achievable, it's visible, and it is.
Thank you very much. This next question, I think B. Yoloko would answer this question. And the question is from LOP Stewart. I'm organizing a trade mission to Lagos, Nigeria in between 2nd to 12th of November 2022 in partnership with the Department for International Trade. What opportunities and who can I liaise with regarding technology so that our tech delegates, companies, and investors can benefit from the trade mission? Be your local, please.
I already answered the question live. I've sent a message to her, and the answer is that she should connect with you, and I will try to reach out to her later to really to deal with that, because she's looking for a bit. My understanding is that she's got a trade mission going and needs to know who to connect with in terms of the opportunities and the out there. The trade mission is in November. So I've said that in the first instance. I mean, this is the purpose of the IoD Africa group. So I think there's probably a need for you and her to have a discussion.
Okay.
And I've already sent her the message.
Right. Then the next question, I think.
Can I just, Joel, can I just add to that to say if she's interested to look for support, British High Commission within the Lagos, they have the Nigeria Tech Hub who can support. And they also within the DIT, there's also what we call market entry support. They can support to guide which are the best key players, who to engage, how to engage. They can even facilitate the relationship. In addition, she can engage AfriLab. AfriLab is a combination, almost 300 tech hubs across the Africa, but it's best in Nigeria. So all the tech companies, all the dynamics, that will give access to any tech opportunities or key players.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eugene.
Can I say thank you? Thank you as well. So I'm Lorna Stewart. I want to say thank you. We actually organized a trade mission last year during the pandemic, and we did it with Ebony Life Place and with the Department for International Trade and the Nigeria High Commission as well. So thank you for all of the input you've given, and I would definitely love to connect with all the key players we've spoken to today, including yourself, Joelle, so that our investors can come over and other companies to explore opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is also from Alastair Cook. some great developments in the supply of financial services. What has been the impact of customers either in their buying behavior or in their lifestyle, or indeed in the opportunities for self-improvement?
Sorry, can you take that question again?
Some great developments in the supply of financial services. What has been the impact on customers either in their buying behavior or in their lifestyle, or indeed in the opportunity for self-improvement?
Okay. Well, for me, right, impact of customers in terms of bank behavior, if we've seen the increasing number of fintechs, particularly in the digital banking space, delivering and providing more better services, right, to the customers. And once this is done, there is a direct, the quality of services, right, rendered to this customer, it's in direct proportion to the way to which the customer uses your service in terms of deposit mobilization. Speaking as a banker now, right, you deliver good service, deposit goes up, and loans.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is from Yaya Alamari. Excellent section, thank you very much. My question is regarding microfinance and microloan and the potential opportunities and challenges in supporting supply chain, for example, farmers within agricultural sector, in agricultural industry.
Okay, the banking system in Nigeria, it's pretty straightforward, right? And when you're dealing with microloans, with what we have at the moment, it's not complex. There are tons of APIs available in terms of disbursement, in terms of repayment, in terms of assessing data to know ticket sizes for loans and that. So the resources are there when it comes to technology. Basically, resources are there.
Thank you.
Can I add on, can I add on that also from an East African perspective? So we've been doing some work with AGRA. When it comes to microfinance, banking has created and provided an opportunity for financial companies and banks to dispense, of course, access microloans to small farm holders. But that's also, it's integrating other things like agri-insurance, transport monitoring, commodity pricing, and a few other things. So you're seeing more integrated system now rather than just isolation services. But to add to also the other question Arista raised, mobile banking or fintech have changed the cultural behavior of African consumers in many ways. There is increasing now acceptance of e-commerce in Africa and in many countries. We're seeing also a lot of consumer now onboarding various tech solution to facilitate their operation, the day-to-day activities, payment of e-health services, subscription on many, even e-mobility, payment of transport fee. There's a lot of things now. Fintech has changed completely. We're also seeing a lot of peer-to-peer lending where people can lend from using the mobile infrastructure. So it's opened up a lot of different things that you could look across Africa.
Thank you so much, Eugene. I think time has done it again. We have 2 minutes left, and we have about 2 other questions. One is talking about the risk, potential risk in fintech in Africa, but we won't be able to take that. We can do that as a follow-up. I
think you can answer that one in 1 minute. The risk, of course, is cybersecurity.
Right.
Data governance is one, cybersecurity, weak infrastructure. Yeah. So those are the.
Okay, thank you very much. BU, in 1 minute, can you just give vote of thanks and tell our guests about our next event that is coming in September? Thank you very much. Thank you for coming and thank you for staying throughout this webinar. B.
Yeah, very quickly, thank you all very much. It's such a great session. Both speakers have been very, very informative, particularly the session on from the operational perspective, and the volume of data from Mr. Eugene and his understanding of the sector is also very, very informative. So I would advise that if you should all feel free to be able to connect with each other afterwards. But just to let you know that the next event, interestingly enough, Eugene talked about limitations and talked about power and infrastructure. The next event is going to be on rail and power infrastructure. That's on the 6th of September, and the information will be coming out. The further details will be provided in due course, but just please save the date, 6th of September. So on a Tuesday, it's going to be on rail and power, logistics and power. As you know that there's a lot of issues around power. So thank you all very much once again for joining, and please feel free to connect with the IoD Africa group. The link, the details are in the chat. So once again, thank you all very much. And thank you to our wonderful speakers. I certainly have learned a lot today.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.